Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us for the 16th Annual Massachusetts Independent Comics Expo. I'm Paul Hanna, panel's co-organizer at MICE, and welcome to our panel, How I Learned to Draw Like Myself. Today's moderator is Raul III. Raul is an award-winning cartoonist and illustrator, best known for his vibrant works in Big Pens in children's literature. Deeply influenced by the U.S.-Mexico border culture where he grew up, Raul is the illustrator for Lowriders in Space and is the author-illustrator of the Theodore Seuss Geisel award-winning graphic novel series, Vamos. And now, take it away, Raul.
Thank you. All right. Pretty exciting to be here with these amazing artists who you will learn a lot about in just a few seconds. One thing that I'm excited, hey, what happened to the, oh, there it is. One thing that I'm super psyched about this panel is that it's titled, How I Learned to Draw Like Myself. And so we're kind of going to try to peel back the layers and to get to really understand how these cartoonists became the cartoonists that they are. So how many of you in this room are cartoonists? Nice, that's a lot of you. How many of you in this room are like, I want to be a cartoonist? That's pretty cool. So listen, I don't know, there's a scientist, his name was Carl Sagan, and he said, we're all made out of, what was it? Star stuff, right? So, in this room, you're going to realize that we're all made out of cartooning stuff. And so, I'm not going to introduce these cartoonists. They're going to introduce themselves, and they're going to tell you what they have on their tables, maybe. But with your introduction, I want to start with the very first question that I have jotted down into this notebook. The question is, what was your first exposure to cartooning? So I'm going to answer that question really quickly. Like for me, for instance, it was probably going to my biblioteca in El Paso, my library in El Paso, and checking out the amazing book, Danny and the Dinosaur by Sid Hoff. I love that cartoonist. And then maybe it was Harold and the Purple Crayon by Crockett Johnson, and then the beautiful illustrations in The Eyes of the Killer Robot, illustrated by Edward Gorey. So those were kind of early, introductions for me. So introduce yourselves and let us know what your first introductions to cartooning were. I'm going to sit here now, okay? Hey, how are you?
Hey, I'm all right. Can you guys hear me okay? Is that all right? Okay, good. Hi, I'm Mure. This is my first time at MICE. It's my first time in Boston. It's only my second time in the US, and it's been really nice.
Oh, nice. And
Yeah.
I guess you flew quite a ways, and now here you are?
Yeah, so I came over from England. Took quite a while, but it's
So
lovely to be here.
you might be a completely different inspirations from those of us who were born and raised stateside.
Yeah, it's
Exciting to learn about that.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I think talking to friends I have who are cartoonists who are American, there's definitely some shared DNA, but the stuff you get shown as kids is so differently due to programming and stuff like that. So one of my first introductions to cartooning was, it's a book from the 50s called This Is Sylvia. My brain's completely gone.
How many of you have heard of that book, This Is Sylvia?
Oh, a few people.
Jeez,
No one's ever
okay.
heard of that book.
All right.
My Welsh grandma had it, and it's like this cat lady's memoirs. She's like she's like from a old money family, and she joins the theater and stuff. And it's from the 50s, so it's pretty Orientalist in a lot of places. But what I loved about it was, as a kid, I was like, Oh, that's Cat Lady, and I love this illustration because like furry artists since for decades have been like, but how many should the bra have? And they're all wonderful pictures. Yeah.
You know, there seems to be a connection between this and the work you're making now. So here at Mice, what are you?
So I do a series called, it's the Izmir series with Avery Hill Publishing. It's all anthropomorphic animals in a slightly magical city that is on the cusp of industrialization. And a lot of it is lots of collective action against the oppressive state and things like that. Yeah, yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah, and they're all watercolors. So
Wonderful.
that's what I have with them.
Well, great to meet you.
Yes,
Great to have you on this panel.
too, and everyone else. I'm looking forward to it. Yeah.
Desmond.
I guess I'm next.
Yeah.
My name's Desmond Reed. I think I'm best known for a web cartoon called The Cola Pop Creamies. I have a couple books out, one called Opening Act, and the other The Horrors of Being a Human.
And that is the newest one, is that
That's
right?
the newest one. That came
Okay.
out this June.
Okay.
And what was the question again?
Oh, basically, what was one of your first exposures to cartooning? You know?
Oh, yeah. I think like a lot of people, I got really into the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles as a little kid.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm kind of older, so I was around when that first cartoon came out.
So where were you born and raised?
I'm also from far away. I'm from Massachusetts. And I grew up in Western Mass,
Okay.
kind of near Northampton, so that kind of falls into the Teenage Mutant
That
Ninja
is
Turtles of it
exactly
all.
where they were created,
Yeah.
isn't that right?
And so,
Are you familiar with the AT&T building there?
No.
Well, how many of you are familiar with the AT&T building up in Northampton? So look closely at it next time you go, because if you look up, the top 3 floors, they have gargoyles, but those gargoyles are actually the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Well,
Pretty awesome.
I think I might know those because I think they used to be part of the Words and Pictures Museum.
That's
so,
right.
Yeah. So I was into the cartoon, and it was my dad who said that's actually a comic, and there's a museum that we can go to. And so we used to go there on weekends, and they had a lot of comic art and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles art, and he got me the early stuff that was way darker than the cartoon.
Yeah.
So that really interested me a lot.
Yeah.
And so I think that was kind of my first exposure. And I think other than that, it was the X-Men, and it was a similar thing where I would watch the TV show, and it's like, that's actually a comic, and there are all these other stories,
Yeah. There's a nice little illustration by, I guess, Peter Laird and Kevin Eastman, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's wonderful. Cool. Hello, Carmen. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm Carmen Pizarro. I'm a Chilean Mexican illustrator based in New York City. I think my first exposure to comics was probably through my grandmother, who had Chilean, I guess it would be comparative to like Garfield and stuff like that, like very short comics. It was called Condorito.
Oh, yes. I have a Condorito t-shirt.
Yeah, they were.
I should have worn it.
The artwork's beautiful. I think it's really good.
Yeah.
But I just didn't know how to read it because I didn't know how to read Spanish.
Yeah.
So I just would look at the pictures.
Yeah.
I loved the women that were like in the comics, and it kind of wanted me to start drawing and stuff like that.
Yeah. It's funny, like in Latin American culture, we have like amazing magazine racks, like you walk up and the whole little booth will be covered from top to bottom with magazines. And my abuelita, she used to read the sepia-colored comic books. They were probably about this size, maybe a little smaller, and they were just like novelas, which are like soap operas. So I'd open up a page and there'd be somebody getting slapped. Oh, dang. And Condorito, of course.
Yeah, they were really dramatic. It was like
Yeah.
a lot of like domestic interactions and stuff like that between like disputing neighbors and different relationships and stuff like that. So it's very like slice of life-esque, but like also with like the like comedic You know, like always, like at least with Condorito, it was like there was always like the comedic little plop at the end, and that was like the iconic panel.
Yeah. Also, really nice to look at a page like this one, you know, and to see how few colors are being used in the production. Kind of what a lot of the artists out on the booths are doing. You know, very minimal, simple colors on the risograph or screen prints. So, yeah, pretty cool.
Yeah.
Good to meet you. All right.
Okay, hello. I'm Katie Fricas. I'm a cartoonist, comics editor, library worker, and Scorpio. I also live in New York City. My first exposure to comics and cartooning was actually more through the TV route, just kind of like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but I always loved and still love like the Flintstones and the Jetsons.
Oh yeah, those are great cartoons.
They're great. I just love how Fred Flintstone has a New York accent. I'm like, oh, this is ancient New York, you know? And then recently I've been sort of re-examining the Jetsons. I love the concept of like that retro future. And I'm also sort of fascinated, like, why are they in the sky? You know, like, did the waters rise? You know, it's really interesting to me. So I like the sort of like false simplicity of it all. I was also a big fan of Garfield, but his lesser known, you know, cousin Heathcliff, which was also
He's tougher, isn't he?
he's tougher, and I love how he lives like in a dump and there's all these piles of garbage everywhere. I just love drawing piles of garbage.
And fish skeletons.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I actually
yeah.
have a pile of garbage tattooed on me.
Oh, do you really? Where is that tattooed on you?
It's here. It's like a burst of trash.
Oh, that is great.
It's like a fight scene, you know?
Oh, I see Garfield's tail in there, maybe?
Yeah, there's like trash flying out of it. But I swear it must be from when I was like 8 years old. I still have that in my head. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, that's so cool. So, you know, great to meet you as well. So it's really nice to see how you had these early influences, things that kind of drew your attention and made you maybe curious about how they were made. I myself was very interested in how are these things drawn or put onto the television or bound into magazine form. And so for me, one of the ways that I started to kind of figure it out was by trying to copy images. Like I was a big copy machine, but also just trying to learn how to draw specific characters. I'm wondering if in your childhood there were instances where you're like, I want to learn how to draw that exact thing. I remember being so proud when I finally figured out how to draw like the webs on Spider-Man's mask, you know, so they actually looked like they're wrapped around his head. And then Garfield's like stoned eyes. That was another like big accomplishment I had. How about y'all? Did you have like characters that you could probably still draw from memory?
Yeah, I was always trying to draw the perfect hamburger.
Were you a Wimpy fan or something? Or
I mean, yeah, for sure. But I'm like, okay, you do the bun, and then you do the lettuce, and then you do a tomato, and then you do the patty, and then something else. It was just like being in ecstasy, being able to draw a hamburger, and then I graduated to like, a foot-long sub, and like, yeah.
What was it about food that you wanted to like learn how to draw? Were they did you turn them into characters like the ones at the beginning of an old film, or?
I don't know. I guess I just always had a thing for for cartoon food. I just think it's so scrumptious looking. Like when Garfield's like eating the lasagna, it's just like such a legendary thing.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
Well, that's great. That's an interesting. I was not expecting you to say hamburger. That's pretty cool. You know what food is really hard to draw? And I'm Mexican, and it's really difficult to draw either flautas or burritos without making them look like joints. Like, geez, why is our food rolled up? Anyway, go ahead. Whoever wants to take it.
I can go next.
Yeah.
my experience with like drawing like characters and stuff like that was like the Powerpuff Girls. I had this like one book that it was like how to draw them, and like thank God that it was like simple shapes, because I was terrible when I was a kid at drawing. I was very heavy-handed and like shaky, so like yeah, very simple designs were my way to go.
So you started with Buttercup and
I started with the Powerpuff Girls,
because
but
the villains get
I
quite
love the
complex.
villains. The
Yeah.
villains are such great designs.
Yeah.
Him, I love the Gang Green Gang. That's that one.
Mojo Jojo.
Mhm. Ace.
Oh, yeah.
Ace is so good. And also they were like very like Latino coded. So like the Gang Green Gang was definitely like the one that I liked the most.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That's wonderful. That's a great way to start learning how to draw, right? Those simple shapes. So those future cartoonists out there, simple shapes is where it's at. And hamburgers, maybe. Go ahead.
Yeah, kind of going off of the simple shapes thing. I think I really liked drawing Wolverine because it was just like a lot of
That's
sharp
not,
points.
is that simple?
Or it's a lot of like sharp points
Okay.
that I respot in triangles and stuff. Like I think like, and same with it's gonna be a theme for me, with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles of just finding individual parts and putting them all together.
Yeah.
But then you look at them as an adult. I don't have any slides. I don't know where those pictures went. But as an adult looking at them, you know the anatomy's all off? Just like arms are huge and eyes are there, but I can see the elements there.
Who needs the anatomy to be right? I mean,
Yeah.
come on.
Yeah. But I found as a kid, I drew my own stuff a lot. Like that was kind of the fun thing of just like making up a character, like being weird or something. But you can see elements of different characters. Like I took in like eyes from Donatello and stuff like that. So, young brain forming. Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty great, because I do like to think that as cartoonists, we are kind of like Frankenstein's monster. You know, we take bits and pieces from all sorts of influences and figure out a way to piece it all together. Yeah. How about you? Did you?
So one of the main first things was just cats. When I was really young, I just like drew cats all the time. There's like there's an exercise book from when I was like 5 in like preschool or whatever, and it's just I think there's even a note from one of my teachers that was like, yeah, Berwin is he's good in class, but he won't stop drawing cats. Which I feel like is every cartoonist is like, why are you drawing all the time? And then from then I remember being older, me and my little sister, we used to draw our own like Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh cards. So we're like, why would we spend money on cardboard? We have cardboard, we can make them. So they get like more and more ludicrous. We were trying to make like the most powerful beasts we could, being like, this one has 20,000 HP.
Yeah.
And then later on, it was like, I remember being like 13 or 14 and really sketching constantly, trying to draw it, being like, how do you draw the anime boys so they look like they're kissing? How do you do it? Like, it's difficult. I did have a picture of it. I wanted to include it. And I was just like, I cannot bear my soul in this way from when I was 13.
I wish you had.
Oh, I wish I had. If you come find me later, I will find the DeviantArt link.
Listen, every one of us has an embarrassing drawing in our sketchbook, I'm sure. Oh, by the way, my math teacher once told my dad, all he ever draws is muscular men. It's true. I was trying to figure out where to draw those veins, you know? So I think we're in a pretty lucky time for everyone who is a cartoonist or wants to be a cartoonist. We're in a pretty lucky time in that you can find graphic novels and comic books at your local library. That was not the case when I was a kid. It was a little more difficult to get my comic book fix, you know? And when you're trying to teach yourself how to be a cartoonist, you are searching every possible nook and cranny to find something to teach you how to do it. And so I've been wondering, when you were kids, where did you find your comic books, and how did this place shape your cartooning? For instance, I had this great comic book store. Lucky, my first comic book store was a 7-Eleven, but then I found this place called, and so I was only interested in superhero comics at that point. But then my first job was at Bill's Coins, Cards, Stamps, and Comics, and Bill Quarles, I know he's passed away, but I'm so happy that he was this weird, eccentric hoarder who collected every kind of comic, and it really did help shape my view of what art could be. So what about y'all? Did you have a certain space where you went to learn about cartooning? Go ahead.
I'll start.
You seem like you want to answer. I'm looking at you.
So I grew up in a small town, and I think my first exposure to like real on-the-rack comics was just at the supermarket. I think it was Shop and Save at the time, and so it was a lot of like mainstream, just kind of like X-Men, Batman, stuff like that.
Stephen King.
Yeah. A lot of Archie, yeah. But then there was a store at the mall, like 30 minutes away, and that had everything. So that's when I got into, if anyone knows The Max by Sam Keith.
Oh, that was a good one.
That was a big one, but I could only get it at the mall, and so I'd go there and just kind of pore over those issues and try to like reverse engineer, like, why does this look cool to me? How can I make my stuff look like this?
Yeah.
But yeah, it was the mall.
Does clothing really curl up like that when it's torn?
Yeah.
That was a big question I had.
The big feet. The big feet. It was just, I started drawing everybody with like huge feet.
Yeah.
Like that, but that's just him.
Yeah.
I shouldn't have taken that.
So you had the supermarket, and you had your comic book store. I think one of the reasons why I love cartooning and comic books is that it is so accessible to those of us who might not have an art museum around us. You know, we could find them at the supermarket. Anyone else?
I got mine like from Borders and stuff like that. R.I.P.
I know, that's so sad.
It was like super close by my house, and my grandma would kind of drop me off to just like meander the aisles.
Babysitter, right?
Yeah,
Borders with
essentially.
babysitter.
But yeah, I would spend so much time there just perusing through the books, and then Tokyo Pop was really big, so I was just like, oh, I was like, what's this?
Yeah.
And so I was reading a whole bunch of them, and then that was probably like the main like source of it that I could get.
That's great, yeah.
Yeah, I was a big library kid. Like, my mom used to let me go there alone. It was like being in ecstasy, getting to hang out by myself at the library. So, but I have to admit, I didn't really read comics as a kid. I have to say, it wasn't, because I was just sort of thinking they were all kind of like superhero comics, which, I mean, no offense to that, but that didn't resonate with me as a kid. But when I was in my early 20s, I took a trip to San Francisco with my first girlfriend, and we went to all of these bookstores and comic stores, and they had like all of these old single issues of like these women and dyke cartoonists from like the 70s and 80s and 90s, like Lee Mars and Diane DeMassa and all of this stuff. And that's when I realized like, oh, some of this could appeal to me. So I was definitely like looking in the bargain bin kind of thing. Yeah.
That's great. And so it was a trip to a city that had like an underground cartooning pass where you discovered your love.
Totally. I mean, in my mind, it was like, it was such a cartooning city, you know, and I was like, this is where I can find what I'm looking for, and I did. I don't know that it's still the same, but at least 20 years ago, it was like that.
I remember about 25, 26 years ago, I was living out there, and I actually met Robert Crumb's brother, and he was, for those of you who know Robert Crumb's brother, he was actually chewing on the string. Does that ring a bell to anybody? Watch the documentary, you'll know what I'm talking about.
It's very upsetting, yeah, the documentary. Yeah. Well, and Eileen Kominsky-Crumb, who recently passed away a couple years ago, and was also a huge influence on me as well.
Oh, that's great, yeah.
Yeah, I was also a big library kid. My mum used to say, she was like, you love the library. She's like, you love the library so much. She was like, when we tried to leave for closing time, she was like, you would put your arms and legs across the door and be like, no.
Did you leave with stacks of books, or?
Oh, so many books. Yeah. But it was often like just picture books and like books with no pictures in them as well. There wasn't really a good comic selection in any of the stores near me. it was all just like single issue superhero stuff, which I didn't really read. So I didn't really get into comics until my early teens. I read a lot of like web comics. I remember Digger by Ursula Vernon, which is about a little, I think he's a groundhog or something, and he's just digging this enormous hole that goes on and on forever, a huge tunnel, and it's quite lonely and stuff. And I was like, wow, you can make stories about anything. It's like, you just not that it was nothing, but I was like, and you could just keep doing it, and people read it, and however long you want. And then one of my big sister's friends, Richie, he ended up taking over the comic shop in my hometown. That was about 10 years ago, but prior to then, he used to be like, oh, mate, have you read this? You'll like this. This is a good one. And give me recommendations. He's
It's
like,
good to have those friends,
yeah,
right? Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
It was really good. So he was the first, he was like, have you read Scott Pilgrim? And that kind of stuff. Yeah, so it was really good.
That's cool. So once you had decided to become cartoonist or to make a go at it, can you name some of the cartoonists that you idolized once you decided that cartooning was going to be a very important part of your life? Because there comes a point where you're reading these comic books and you love the drawings and you love the stories, but then there comes this little moment where you have the realization that there are actual people making the books that you love, and then you go through the whole process of, I want to know everything I can possibly know about this person. So then you discover Comics Journal or Wizard Magazine or whatever the case may be, and you start reading interviews, and then you're like, I'm going to be just like this person. So did you have that in your lives where you're like, I want to be like this person? Nobody? Okay.
I don't want to be like anybody.
Jeez.
Just,
All right. Next question.
I can do it. When I was like a younger teenager, reading Tove Jansson, Moomin's comics. Oh, so good.
We just barely got those stateside like 10, 15 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah, so.
Do you know, I was talking to people about this, and I was like, really? Oh, because we had them for years. The like 90s Japanese French cartoon was there, and if you talk to like any sort of British European kids who watched it, they were all like, I loved it and it terrified me.
Wasn't that like a cartoon made like out of like wool or like?
Yes,
there was
that was an earlier one from the 80s. So
okay.
my brother's 10 years older than me, and he watched that one as well. I've
like
never
stop
seen
motion
it.
animation.
Yeah, it's fascinating.
Yeah, it looked really beautiful.
Amazing. Yeah, and they were so like beautiful and also slightly unnerving, and I just love
The
them.
unnerving stuff is what really sticks with you when you're a kid, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And also because it was really, I feel this now about like a lot of kids' books and stuff. Not all of them are this way, and there's some really good stuff out there. But I remember being a child and feeling the feeling of being pandered to or patronized, and how angry it made me. And when I see it now and see people talking about things that children want now, when it is that pandering and stuff, I'm like, do you not remember being a child? Do you? I don't know. You know, some people genuinely don't for various reasons, and that's fine. But yeah, it was so refreshing to have that. And then reading about Tove Jansson and being like, she's a lesbian and she made illustrations for like communist and anarchist newspapers and lived on a little island by herself, and her partner was a jazz musician, and I was like,
you wanted that.
this is rad as hell. Yeah, absolutely.
That's great. Yeah.
I could go. I think I had a few. I think the first one when I was a kid was The Far Side by Gary Larson.
Yeah.
Just because it was so deceptively simple and would just take you in this strange world. And as a kid, it seemed attainable. It wasn't, but it seemed attainable just because it was so simple.
Mm-hmm.
I think when I got a little bit older, it was Peanuts. I just really liked, I don't know, just it created such kind of sad, complex feelings in 3 or 4 panels. And again, it was just sort of that, it was accessible, you know, because it is so simple. And I think as somebody who's just starting out, it seemed like, well, geez, I should be able to do that. It's just like one line, you know? And then as an adult, I think it wasn't so much a comic, it was a TV show, BoJack Horseman. I don't know if people watch that, where they would have episodes just about these weird internal thoughts that every person has, and that was the real like brain exploder for me, where it was like, you can write about that, you know, you can write about those kind of weird feelings of self-doubt. So that was a big one. I know it's not a comic though, and I know it's way later, but
Yeah, it works. It's Lisa Hannawalt, you know?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, wonderful cartoonist, yeah.
I think I was kind of a late bloomer when I was like thinking of like making comics. I went more of like the illustrative route. So I didn't really see the type of art that I made in comics. So I didn't really consider it as like a medium until I saw like Jillian Tamaki's work. And I really resonated with that.
Yeah, that's a great
her
work.
her artwork is gorgeous. I really loved the ink work and like the emotion that it conveyed, and it like really like clicked. And that was like kind of like in a high school time, and I was just like, oh wait, like I can make like graphic novels, like comics, and they don't have to be this like kind of like standardized comics that I've been seeing through my early childhood.
Yeah, I also love like about your work. I love how it reminds me of like old issues of Teen Angel magazine. I don't know if you ever saw that magazine, but it was just kind of filled with like almost like flash art and just intricate like drawings.
Yeah, you can
know?
definitely tell that I'm influenced by like tattoos and
Yeah,
stuff like that.
yeah.
As you can see, I'm
Did
heavily
you have
tattooed.
anything like that where you were flipping through maybe magazines or books that had that kind of work in it?
I think it was more so that I originally am from the West Coast, so I grew up in California, San Luis Obispo. So there's like a heavy influence of like tattoo flash out there, and then I moved to Vegas, and like that has like such an iconic like Americana like vibe to it.
All of the neon signs.
Yeah,
right?
the neon signs, the pinup women that are there. Also, like, there's so many like tattoo shops out there where it's just like you go one drunk night and you go get a tattoo, and it's like mom with like the little heart and then a sparrow on like the side. So like, it was like very prevalent in my upbringing.
So finding a way to integrate all of that into cartooning is just magic.
Yeah, it definitely influenced me a lot.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, I didn't even realize I wanted to be a cartoonist. Like when I was a kid, I always wanted to be a writer, and I was watching in the 80s, there was a TV show made of Garfield. It was called Garfield and Friends. And I remember it was like, I loved it, but it was so damaging to me in a way because, John Arbuckle is Garfield's and Odie's dad, and he's a cartoonist in it, and they always made him out to be like such a loser, and I was like, oh, like losers are cartoonists or something, and like, you had like Kathy or something, like she was so upset all the time. I didn't realize that, that was just like, I was too young kind of to be in on the joke, and then for me it was Diane DeMassa who does this character called Hothead Paisan, homicidal lesbian terrorist. And she actually has an anthology out with the New York Review of Comics that just came out, which I highly recommend. But it's just like, I just thought it was so funny, and there's just like pure kind of like rage in her lines. And there's sort of a way that she draws. It looks like it's all done really fast under duress, which is like definitely something that I can identify with. And so I sometimes think of Hothead as sort of like this like or like a sort of like a Batman figure. Like she's immortal, and she's out there like avenging like all of the people who've experienced violence. So she was kind of an anti-hero for me. Yeah.
And that kind of spontaneity that you talk about, you really do bring a lot of that to your own cartooning, don't you?
Yeah, I think there's a level of desperation I feel at all times, especially too when you're under deadline, you got to do something fast. I'm like, well, let me just do it fast then, and I definitely learn from a lot of these queer cartoonists that if you have style, you don't you don't have to know anything about anatomy or perspective at all, you know, which I don't.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Who needs those vanishing points? Jeez, too many of them sometimes. I find that being a cartoonist, for me, one of the funnest parts, especially early on when I was beginning, was finding a group of people to just hang out with, and just, you know, you just hang out and you drink or do whatever else, and you just sit around your record player and do some drawings, and then you kind of realize, oh, we're all kind of influencing each other in some interesting way. Did you all have any of that? Did you have like maybe a collective of some sort where you just had a good time creating comics with people?
I never did.
Oh.
No, I don't know. I think like part of why I like being a cartoonist is that I could just go off doing my own thing, and it's almost like a level of control where it's just like I can make, you know, I can do anything and nobody can tell me what to do. But that being said, I think coming to places like MICE and SPX is so important because I think a lot of people are like me and they work alone.
Yeah.
But then coming together and kind of talking about the experience with you know, each other, I think that's important.
Oh, it really
at least
is,
for me.
yeah.
Yeah. And even just when I was first starting out, it was just good to talk to people about like why does that look like that? How did you make that look like that? How did you print that? Where did you get it done? And so yeah, I think a sense of community is important, but in the later stages, at least for me. Yeah.
I think I found like drawing with like friends, especially during like college, because it wasn't really like a thing, at least for when I was in like high school and stuff like that. I was like really like the only like art person in my friend group, so it was nice to finally find community.
Yeah. Did your friend, since you were the only person in your friend group, were you ever one of those like, hey, will you draw this for me, or will you draw that for me?
Yes, it was like any like project that required any creativity. They like whipped around and like looked at me and they're like, I want Carmen to be my partner, which was like nice to be like wanted, but it's like also like I was like, I don't want this pressure. But no, like during college, it was like I was living in the dorms at least for my first year, and I lived with like 6 other people, so a very intimate space, and it was a lot of fun. I realized that I liked, the community and being able to ask people like right then and there for like advice and critiques and stuff like that. So, yeah.
Cool. Right.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of drawing like in a diner, just because they're often open 24 hours, so you don't have to leave, and I've always kind of drawn in groups in a diner.
So do you draw with other cartoonists? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I mean, drawing in public didn't come naturally to me. It felt really. Is this thing on?
I think so.
Okay, cool. It didn't come naturally to me, but I realized it's actually quite therapeutic to draw with other people.
Yeah.
So yeah, I got into that. I mean, I'd be nowhere without the queer comics community and all these artists that came before me.
And so do you have a queer comics community in New York that you hang out with and at the diner and draw with? And can you name some of them? Are there some that our audience might know?
Yeah, Carlo Quispe is this amazing cartoonist, Peruvian cartoonist in New York City who...
He does World War III and some of his own work, right?
Yeah, he's in World War III a lot, but he also does Uranus comics, and that's an anthology. Jennifer Camper, who's been doing cartoons for like 40 years, is one of the first people who ever published me. And she's been sort of instrumental in my development.
Did those early publications where you were in, did you feel that they helped make you brave enough to take on a full-length graphic novel?
For sure. I mean, they were all my safety net. I mean, it took me 5 years. I just did my first book. It's called Checked Out. It came out in May. And I mean, all of my friends would come over and help me identify sort of like the main themes in the book and how do they relate to, the story. And we all kind of help each other. And I'm always telling people, like, just email people if you want to meet somebody or just like go up to them at a convention, because I feel like the underground comics community, which I think we're all talking about here in a way, is just really welcoming in a way, and everyone's kind of got their own bag going, and they want to learn about new art and everything. So I've just found, even if I can be sort of a grumpy recluse at times, like we just are recluses with each other, you know.
Yeah. So on that note, Jennifer Camper's sister, Kathy Camper, and we reached out to me and asked if I'd be interested in collaborating with her on something. That was about 12 years ago. Turned out to be my first published book, Lowriders in Space. So yeah, just reaching out, that's the way to do it, you know? It's wonderful you have that community.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think similarly, the UK is a tiny, horrible island. It's less horrible in some places, but one of the good aspects of it is because the comic scene is so little, you get to see all these people. Every show you go to, you see all your friends that you haven't seen for the rest of the year, and we will all inevitably get together and like draw things in a bar, and one of my favorite cartoonist constants is like you get a bunch together and everyone goes, let's all draw Garfield, and then Sonic. And I taught some, last year I did some teaching on a comics course in Leicester, and all the students, they're all like 19, 20, they presented us with the scene and we were like, we all drew Garfield and Hatsune Miku. And I was like, yes, perfect.
So this is the second time Garfield has been mentioned. Are y'all familiar with that one strip? It's called Garfield Without Garfield?
Yes.
That's pretty funny.
Yes, he's so good.
Well, that's great that you have that community of artists to draw at the bar with.
It's nice. And
Yeah.
also my sister is 3 years younger than me, and we've been drawing, we still live together now, we've been drawing together since we were kids. We just like, parents' friends would be like, how do you get them to be quiet? And they were like, we don't know, they just do it. They just sit together and they just draw. They were like, it's not us. Yeah, she's called Jenny Mure.
that's cool.
And we still draw together now,
that's
which is
great.
nice. Yeah.
So I know I'm kind of getting close on time, so I just have a couple more questions. Let me see which one is more fitting. Oh, you know what? This one seems kind of cool. So, you know, we talked about influences and all of that. So did any of your influences suggest the materials that you use when you're creating your work? And what kind of materials do you use when you're creating work? Because cartooning, you know, you can make cartoons with a Ticonderoga or a big ballpoint pen. You could use your, I knew this one guy who created a lot of cartooning drawings with spices, and I thought that was pretty awesome. How about you? And if so, which artists helped inspire you to use whatever material you use?
I think Linda Berry uses a flare pen, which is just like a felt tip pen, which I completely swear by. I don't know if it's archival, but
Does the flare though? Does that flare? Doesn't it get reactivated when you color over it with water?
yeah, you got to do it last. So
Okay.
I do pencil, watercolor, Copic marker, flare.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but the flare, I was kind of lost for my black line because it was annoying me how like I feel like microns run out really fast. Maybe I'm just pushing too hard on that.
You might be pushing too hard.
Well, in the second, I remember trying to use a rapidograph once, and it was like I like smashed it like immediately.
That motion you're making, that is not a good drawing with a rapidograph motion.
No, it's like there's a certain delicacy with like a nib or something. I can't do it. But the flare, suddenly you can just cruise across the page, no problem. But yeah, you can't get it wet.
So an artist like Linda Berry was like, oh, that looks pretty awesome. I want to try that.
Yeah, just use like office supplies too. Like I've always had sort of like a clerical job, and I'm always just like stealing everything from the supply cabinet.
We will edit that part out.
Thank you. Yes. Not anymore. But we have tons of flares. Or sometimes I'll be like, oh, I need some flares for work, and they get me a whole pack.
I do a lot of school visits throughout the year, and you'd be surprised how many Sharpies I end up with by the end of the year. I'm like, oh my God,
well,
another coffee. Bring me my other coffee tin, please.
Yeah, when Sharpies are really sharp, I love that too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
I think like the ink and brush was like my favorite. I went through a lot of like different mediums because I was like, I want to find like the best one. I hated nibs. I don't like nibs. They just feel too mechanical.
That's a brave choice though, because you
Yeah,
know, you gotta have
I
finesse
feel like
with
there's
that brush.
like, yeah, you can definitely mess up quite a bit.
Yeah.
It's a like bigger
look-
risk, bigger mistakes.
Look how fluid your line is. That's pretty fantastic.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just loved like the kind of like the fluctuation of like the line weight with like a lot of like brush work, and then of course like a lot of like influences like Yuko Shimizu did brush work, and I was like I took Yuko's class in college
Oh,
because
what
I
a
was just like
great
I was like
illustrator.
beautiful
Yeah.
work, like one of the masters of like doing like brush work,
I
to
love
be
this, like,
honest.
I love this Godzilla DVD set. That
Yes.
shit. I was like, ooh.
Also, it's the part of the Criterion collection, and it's so expensive. But one day I will own it. But seeing their work in person was just like I was in awe, and so it was just like okay.
And you were saying she uses like a sumi brush, right?
Yeah, she uses like traditional like style Japanese because she is Japanese, so it's just like a lot of like like traditional like brushes.
And that inspired you just to take on.
Yeah, I tried using, because like I know some comic creators use like the Winsor and Newton Series 7, but I was like, I could care less about the name because it was so hard to find,
Yeah.
and B, like at the point in time when I was using it, they were so expensive. And I was a college student, I'm very heavy-handed. I would, like my brush would look like this, like towards the ends of like projects, and
You're
I
trying to
could
lick it
not
into a point
afford that.
again.
Yeah. And like I learned ways on like how to repair them and stuff, but yeah, they never went back.
So you also use the sumi then?
I use like Sumi. I also like I don't really care about like the brands and stuff like that. If it works, it works.
Yeah, I don't know if Dan's here, but I know that I think Will Eisner might have used a sumi brush too for his spirit drawings, right? Yeah. So.
There's like I don't think like the tool is necessarily important. You can use.
It's important if it's important to you.
It's important if it's important to you,
Yeah.
but like if a watercolor brush works for your ink work, then use a watercolor brush. It doesn't. If it makes what you want to make, use it.
Yeah. Good advice. Thank you.
I keep going down the line here.
Yeah, why not? You guys could interrupt each other too. I don't mind.
We're all very polite, yeah. I got really into like black and white type stuff, like 60s underground comics and Edward Gorey. And so I was really inspired about like, to learn how to crosshatch and how to make textures with just a pen. So I actually never got past a Micron pen.
Oh.
That's really what I use. I also break them.
How do you hold it? Is it like this also?
Yeah. I have two fists when I use mine, but yeah. I do that. I've been doing, security envelope patterns to simulate gray on a lot of what I'm doing.
Wait, what?
So security envelopes have patterns inside, so you can't see like the numbers inside. You can use those as patterns. Those are just kind of like free
wonderful.
things. So I've got a bunch on
Do you
my.
scan them in or something?
I scan them
Okay.
in, yeah. So I've just got like a folder of different envelopes, and now I've become kind of not to brag, kind of a connoisseur, where I see them.
Yeah.
I'm like,
It's like your what are those?
Zipatone.
yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly, yeah, that's-
or Ben-Day dots, or whatever. Yeah, cool. That's great. I'd never even thought of that. I'm gonna use it.
That's okay. Yeah. You heard it here first. Yeah.
I am so jealous of, like, I always wanted to do brush and ink. I tried it when I was a lot younger. I was like, I look so good, but my hands tremble a bunch. And also, I'm so impatient, and I just smudge everything.
Oh.
Which is funny for someone who does their comics in, like, watercolor a lot. But what I like about the watercolor is if I color something digitally, I have done it, I think too hard about it, and I'm sat there for ages recoloring. Whereas the watercolor, I'm like, well, it's on there. It's not going anywhere. And what I like to do is I like ink my pages like 10 at a time, and then I do like a production line thing where I like put all the blue on 10 pages at a time, and then by the time I've done the 10th one, the first one is dry, so I can go back to it.
So you figured out a way to overcome your impatience.
Yeah. I'm like, we really got to work with the ADHD. But I'll use anything, whatever is to hand, which I always was like, I think there's this thing, especially when you're younger, where you can be like, oh, I'm so inconsistent, but it's fine. It's fine. Do whatever. It's cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I do that too with the assembly line.
Yeah.
I put 10 pages on the floor, and then I like Roy G. Bivet,
Yeah.
But I start with yellow, and then go from there.
It's so fun. It's so fun
Yeah.
having a bunch of pages laid out in front of you.
What's it feel like once you get to the V?
You feel like a genius.
Yeah. And then you get to stack them up and be like, I made these.
So I'm going to ask one last question, and before I ask the question to them, I'm just going to have you answer it in your minds, okay? How many of you in this room had a point in your life where you had like a crush on a cartoon character? Nice. That's good to hear, good to see. I'm wondering, I know I did when I was a kid. One was a cover of Ramona from a Beverly Cleary book. Another one might have been Jubilee, drawn by Jim Lee back in the 90s. How about y'all? Did you have like a cartoon character you had a crush on?
It's James from Pokemon. I was like, it's androgynous. He likes dogs. He doesn't function very well in the world. I could take care of him. And other than that, I was like, oh, Nightcrawler from X-Men.
Ooh,
Also,
that's a good one.
Yeah, it's the accent. It does.
For me,
You're going to say a turtle. You're going to say a turtle, aren't you?
First of all, I'm glad this question's part of this. So for me, it was Rogue from X-Men. She was real flirty on the show. Yeah. I think I responded to that as a kid. Yeah.
I like that white patch. Of hair. Yeah, that was cool.
I put one in the slide, but I rescind that answer. I would say Princess Yum Yum and Tack from The Thief and the Cobbler, which is like a beautiful movie. I recommend it. It's gorgeous.
It's a little obscure.
A little obscure, but like I fell in love with both characters, so I say both.
Nice. Okay.
It's funny you mentioned, I think it was Ramona Quimby, age 8, right? Where it's like her face on the cover.
Yeah.
Because that was one of the first chapter books I ever
I
read.
used to stare at that cover and I was like, oh.
I know, but I remember when I read it, I didn't realize you had to read chapters in order. I was so little. I just read it all over, and then I was like, this doesn't make any sense. But yeah, no, mine would be Bugs Bunny, but only because I find Bugs like sort of obnoxious in general, but then when he was in drag, like I felt something, look at that. Like he was really good at drag, and also Wile E. Coyote has some drag moments that are kind of legendary, and so yeah, that's one of my queer roots, I would say.
That's wonderful. So now we have I think 8, maybe 6 minutes to go, maybe less than that. So if there's anyone in the audience who has a question for these amazing artists, ask them a question. But it all has to be about, what we've been talking about. Don't stray. Just kidding. Ask whatever you want. Go ahead.
I was curious about technical limitations and how you could work them into your style. It makes me think of YouTube videos where modern rock bands are deliberately making their music videos look like crappy 80s VHS tapes. And it made me think of how the technical limitations of yesterday become the conscious artifice of today. And it's like, is there anything about your art that you hated as you were a kid, but now you're like, that's my trademark. I like that about me now.
Well, I think I had a workaround. So I've never been good at and we kind of talked about this up here, but anatomy, it just doesn't quite look right. So all my characters are all squiggly. And so that was a workaround, but now that's my whole style. It's from lack of talent.
It's like
yeah.
Fleischer Studios.
Yeah.
Well, spaghetti.
I hated drawing environments. So like, if you can see in my illustrations, it's very like people focused, but people are drawn to it. So I was like, I'm gonna keep on doing what I'm doing.
Yeah, I hate Photoshop. It drives me nuts. I can never remember my password, and then I'm getting charged like $16.95 like every month, 10 times I can't get in. So like, I'm just like, let me just draw something as perfect as I can so I can just scan it. Like I don't want to use Photoshop. Yeah.
So your limitation is not wanting to use Photoshop?
Yes.
There's lots of things I'm not great at drawing, and I'm still mad about it. So I don't.
But I always tell myself, the next book will be better.
Yeah, this is why I go. I was like, next book, I'll plan better. I'll have more time. We'll do it. But one thing I really like doing, because I work traditionally, is if I have to redo a panel, and you never see it in the book, but I enjoy it, I just stick a panel over the top of it. It's great. You just stick paper over the top of it, and it's so fun.
I do that as well.
Yeah.
I also enjoy it.
It's really nice. You have a little flap.
Cool. Anyone else? Right over here.
So you talk about things that are consciously influencing your art, but what's something that you are making an effort to not integrate?
That's a really good question.
I don't want to use, I like hand lettering, so I make an effort not to do like typeface lettering. I guess that's, yeah, hand lettering, I think.
I think just for me, it's more like the like concept of just like overdoing things. Like there's a lot of artists who do beautifully, really rendered style that takes a long time, and I love it. But I really need to not do that because it doesn't work for me, and it stiffens everything. And sometimes it will seep in while I'm drawing a page where I'm like, what if I just go over this? And then you have to go, no, we'll do it quickly. Yeah.
I think mine might be more about the writing of just making things more concise. I think it's weirdly way easier to write a lot, but to say what you're trying to say in less words, that's pretty hard. But as a reader, that's so much better.
Also as a letterer.
As a letterer, yeah, less time.
Coming from like an illustrative background, it's, yeah, definitely simplifying. With the illustration, it's like the one image and then you're good. But with like comic creating and stuff like that, it was definitely like a learning curve to be able to be like, how do I like design an image and design a panel and still convey what I'm trying to convey with more simplicity and still have it readable.
Do I have to ask if, are we good on time or? One more question, look at that. And it doesn't seem like anyone has one. Oh, look at that, right over there. Oh, two questions. Go ahead.
Can any of you guys talk about how your style has like evolved over the course of like either a single book or like over years, and like how do you ever like consciously like go back to a previous style, or is it all like part of the improvement process for you?
I can start. I think when I first started doing comics seriously, I was trying to learn what other people did, so I drew really big and very as detailed as I could, and I found that like for even just a short gag, it was taking me like 2 months to finish it.
Whoa.
And so, yeah, it was a lot. And by the end, it's not even funny anymore. You've known the joke for 2 months. But so I tried to change my style consciously to something I could do very fast. that was still kind of, well, I shouldn't say kind of, I shouldn't be so self-deprecating, something that was still interesting. And so that was the big shift, and it really helped. It worked out and made it more fun.
And since you were able to create work more quickly, did you feel that you were improving because you were able to, make up 2 or 3 pages a week rather than a one every 2 months?
100%. Yeah,
Good.
the way to get better is to finish many things, and so do something that you can finish,
Yeah.
It helped.
I do always feel like at the end of finishing a book, that it's like, oh, I've learnt something from doing this. I've improved in some way, even if I can't quantify it. And I find it really interesting looking at one of the first books I did with Avery Hill, because it's watercolor, is only 3 colors used. And it's a lot more like, it's a lot more quickly done, but it's a lot more dynamic for that. And I think it's really interesting to go back, because I did that about 7 or 8 years ago, and I'm like, I can't remember how I did it like that. And it would be interesting to try and recreate it again, I think. Yeah.
Or yeah, it's true. Sometimes I look back at work and I'm like, boy, oh boy.
Yeah. Who was I? Yeah.
Yeah, I think I've learned a thing or two about pacing since I did like a big full-length book. It's like I just like that you can control the narrative by slowing it down. You can have more emotional impact, for instance, if you slow a scene down. And I think I've also learned too, like, people don't always want to be looking at faces or characters, so I sometimes will do a page without any people in it, just for just to kind of rest the reader a little bit.
I really like those scenes in your book that were like walking down the street, and then you see like graffiti or like the fences behind the businesses to close the businesses down. All of that stuff, the trash and the layers of city life.
Yeah, I think it contributes to the story to the world of the story without necessarily like overwhelming the reader's senses.
With my work, there seems to be like kind of like a fluctuation with like a lot of like my stuff, mostly in regards to like illustration work and like comic work. So I definitely allow myself leeway now to have my work form in different ways. So like not everything is like so consistent and like yeah. I guess if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. Cool. Yeah, for me, like, I've done 34 books now, right about. Yeah, I feel like I've improved a lot since that very first one. And I don't even, it just comes because, just practicing every single day. Chained to your table.
That just reminded me when I went to see Ben Passmore and Alan, the talk that they did before mine started, was at some point somebody asked, I was like, how many of you are cartoonists? And there were a lot of hands went up. And Ben went, why aren't you working? That's good.
Hey, listen, it was wonderful to have you as an audience. Thank you so much for being here. Please stop by, visit their tables. I promise you, you're going to see some wonderful stuff at each and every one of them, from stickers to their books, obviously. So pick stuff up. You'll love it. Thank you.